Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. I'm Jackson Jirik alongside Alex Stouf this week. We got a lot to discuss, including the NFL. A whole lot happened there. We got the NBA Finals concluding, the MLB postseason is continuing on, and the CFB is continuing on with a whole lot of upsets and changes in the conference. So Alex, let's start with the NFL. A whole bunch happened. Let's get into the Dak Prescott injury first because I know that's going to be on a lot of headlines this week. How are the Dallas Cowboys going to respond with this, losing arguably one of the better quarterbacks we've seen in the league so far this year?
Yeah, that's why Dak was holding out for that contract extension, right? He wanted his money. They weren't able to get to a deal, and now obviously his career's in jeopardy, let alone his season. You hate to see it happen, man. That's the type of stuff you never like to see. If you're an Eagles, Giants, or Washington football team fan, you still feel really bad for the dude. So
we saw a lot of people say, rivalry aside, we want Dak Prescott to be as healthy as he can be because that's the reason. The rivalry is the rivalry. That's why everyone likes it.
And Dak's clearly one of the good guys in the NFL. He's been very vocal about his mental health battles and losing his brother. So it's been a tough year for Dak, and this makes it a little bit tougher, but it's really hard not to cheer for him to come back, and it's almost poetic. It happened on the same day that Alex Smith returned after 600-plus days on the sideline, 17 surgeries to his leg, and he was able to return. So kind of weird how that happened on the same day, right? But you got to feel for Dallas and of course Coach Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys because that's your franchise, and you watched him get carted off and obviously go through a successful ankle surgery Sunday night already. So it's tough. They were able to get the win against New York. They're ahead of the division now with only 2 wins because it's the NFC East
right now. The NFC East is not good whatsoever.
No, it's not. But an under 500 team might be able to sneak in this year just because that's how the NFC is going to rattle out this year. I still think Dallas can win the division. I don't think there's a real threat other than them in the NFC East.
I don't think so.
I'm not sold on Philadelphia. Washington's doo-doo, and the New York Giants are even worse. So not super confident in that division. I don't know if Andy Dalton's necessarily the answer.
It was a good pickup in the offseason, not because they expected Dak to get injured, but you want a good secondary quarterback in case something like this does happen, or, he's out for 2 weeks with a different injury, but unfortunately he's done for the year. So Andy Dalton's still a quarterback that can lead a team. Probably could start on about 7 or 8 teams this year, the way it looks right now. I mean, I wouldn't say he's he's not good by any means, but he's a guy who could start and lead a team, especially with the amount of weapons that the Dallas Cowboys have, including Zeke. And we saw CeeDee Lamb put up great numbers. Gallup's been slow this year, but there's still guys that... Amari Cooper, exactly. I'm forgetting about him. There's a lot of weapons there for Dalton to lean on and have a successful, not a very successful year, but a successful year to the point where they could get into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a guy with it's a quarterback with playoff experience, obviously, during his time in Cincinnati. So we'll see what he's capable of. I mean, this is kind of probably going to be his farewell tour, if I had to guess, right? I mean, Andy Dalton's up there in age. I don't know how many more years he will play. And I don't know how many years, teams are going to be offering him money. But if he plays really well this year, maybe he locks himself up 3 or 4 more years in the league, and that's 3 or 4 more years of contract. So we'll see, man. It's a long season. We're only through 5 weeks. We got 11 more games for Dallas to play, and it'll be interesting to see what Andy Dalton can do for Mike McCarthy and company.
Good chance for him to prove himself.
Exactly.
Raiders beat the Chiefs in a huge game for the Raiders. They won 40-32. Chiefs defense was non-existent, it seemed like. Although the Raiders do have a lot of weapons, let's get into that game a little bit.
Yeah.
48 points in the first half?
From both teams.
48 points in the first half. That's crazy.
It was a high-scoring game. 72 total points in that game. So that's probably the highest scoring game of the weekend. If I had to guess off the top of my head, maybe New York and Dallas was around that ballpark. But 40-32, that's a high-scoring game. And Las Vegas has been one of those teams where it's been relatively difficult to get a really good gauge on them through 5 weeks, or I guess prior to yesterday, 4 weeks this year. I mean, they lose to Buffalo, they beat New Orleans, now they beat Kansas City. So you have a feel that they're probably in the mix of the AFC playoff race. You have to imagine they will be.
Wild card team for sure.
I'd imagine so, right? They're the second best team in that AFC West. I mean, we haven't seen a ton out of Denver or Los Angeles. So you imagine both teams can probably suffice and make it through for a playoff spot, and a divisional win for Las Vegas is obviously gonna pay off over debatably the best team and the reigning Super Bowl champion in the entire league in Kansas City. Kansas City, maybe their defense, and that's always been kind of a constant issue the last few years. It feels like maybe if their defense doesn't hold a team under, say 35 points, 30 points, they might not win that game. But that offense is always good for 30 points, and it was 32 on Sunday. They weren't hitting on all cylinders offensively, and Las Vegas really was. So it's a game you can't scoff at. I mean, Derek Carr threw for 350 yards. I mean,
he had a great game.
It's a pretty good day for that Las Vegas offense. I'm not a John Gruden believer by any means. I've never been a huge fan of the guy as a head coach, but this might be the year that they're able to sneak in. I don't know if they'll be able to make a ton of noise, but this is a big win for them.
A change in direction for sure for the Raiders.
Yeah.
We've seen them struggle a lot, but Gruden came in. Didn't really get anything going. Finally got some pieces to help himself out. A good running back, had a good quarterback, like you mentioned in Carr. Got some pieces. Henry Ruggs finally had a good game coming back off injury, so that's good for them. It's looking up for right now for the Raiders. I think that they'll continue on. I don't know exactly what their schedule looks like, but I think that they have a good chance to make some noise, like you mentioned. And
they've got 2 games against the Chargers and 2 games against the Broncos to play yet. So and one more against Kansas City. I mean, that's at least the divisional schedule. So you got potentially 4 wins right there.
4 wins, go 4-1, maybe 3-1,
3-1.
Overall
in the 5. 3-2 would you probably be happy with?
Yeah, 3-2 would be a great one. You already beat the Chiefs once, so you think you go 6-2 overall or 4-2 overall in your division? That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Beating the Chiefs.
You'll take that any year.
We'll switch over to the NFC side. The Seahawks had a comeback win against the Minnesota Vikings, 27-26, on a drive that had 2 4th-and-10 conversions and a 4th-and-8 win. A 4th-and-8 final play win. There we go. Talk about this game a little bit. Vikings looked really good in the first half, put up 13 points, choked again.
Yeah.
I know you're already going to make fun of me for it because I don't even want the Vikings to win. I don't care if they lose this game.
Are you all in on the Trevor?
Tank for Trevor.
Okay.
Tank for Trevor.
So you're done with Kirk.
I'm done with Kirk. I know he's probably going to have to play next year with Trevor having to sit one more year.
Oh, so you're already calling it a foregone conclusion. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Minnesota Viking?
Well, I'm hoping he'll be a Minnesota Viking, but I don't think that it will happen because knowing us, here's what's going to happen if we're the Vikings, getting out of the game. But we'll rattle off 3 wins in a row. Everyone's going to be like, this is our year. We're going to make the playoffs somehow.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a wild card, have to play the 2 seed, lose that game, mediocre draft pick, not going to get anything out of it. But
yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Russell Wilson, I mean, he did not look MVP form.
He did not.
On Sunday night, but was still able to sneak out a victory. Obviously, that last second touchdown, as mentioned, to DK Metcalf with less than a minute to go in that game. And, Kirk had a decent game, actually.
He did. I'm not upset with him. I'm not harping on the guy at all. I don't mean to say that he's bad.
Well, you said that you're going to go, tank for a quarterback when you're already paying $1 million. So, I don't know. How about Alexander Mattison not seeing the gap wide open to winning the game to his right? Instead, he ran into a pile of Seahawks on 4th down.
Okay, let's talk about that call.
Yeah.
Do you think that call by Mike Zimmer was the right call?
Running the ball, I think.
Going for it on 4th and 1.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so
too because it's game over if you get that. And it's Alexander Madison's fault. I mean, if he would have walked 8 inches to his right, that game's over.
All he had to do was get this much, I think.
Yeah.
That's it. It wasn't
he had a wide open hole to his right. I mean, and right in front of him and to his left was where the line was obviously combating. He goes just to his right. He's got daylights. He's got daisies in the springtime, man. It's over. So. Whatever. Nonetheless, Seattle, tough comeback, and yeah, I mean they're the other undefeated team in the NFL or in the NFC, with Green Bay, and they look like they're right up there with them. I mean Minnesota, although they're 1-4, I get that. I know their record doesn't correspond with their level of play. Minnesota's not a 1-4 team. I mean they're just not.
They easily could have beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
They could have won the game there. They could be 3-2. Probably weren't going to beat the Packers in the first game of the year.
But this isn't like a 2-14 team. This is a 6-7 win team still in my mind. I mean I know.
I don't want them to be that team though, and I know we're not supposed to talk
I don't care what
about
you
it.
want,
and no one seems it does, but that's okay.
Look, I don't know. I think that they're going to be in most of the ball games they play this year because they do have the level of talent to compete.
They have the number, as of right now, is Cook the number 1 running back in the league?
I'd say no. Now, obviously, with him going down with an injury, I would definitely, I would hesitate before saying yes.
Okay, up to this week before he played last week and he had his injury. Because he was leading the league in rushing yards.
Yeah.
Wasn't scoring touchdowns, say, like Aaron Jones was.
Sure.
But still leading the league in rushing. Got to put him up there, top 3 for sure.
Yeah, you could probably make the case for him +3. I think now, especially with Dak going down, you're going to see Ezekiel Elliott become an even bigger part of that Mike McCarthy offense. Aaron Jones, as he mentioned, has had a really terrific start to this season. I know he's not quite to the Dalvin Cook level, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him and Miles Sanders in Philadelphia.
That's true. That's
after a slow start to the season, he's gotten better. Todd Gurley had a big weekend. Josh Jacobs has had a really good year in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Obviously, another big game in the win over Kansas City. So, yeah, he's in the conversation. I think Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley both going down in the first 2 weeks makes more of a case for Dalvin Cook. But I don't know if I'd necessarily go that direction. But he's definitely in the conversation.
All right, we'll cover one more game. Thursday Night Football game. Bears moved to 4-1 on a 20-19 win over Tampa Bay. Tom Brady forgetting that it was 4th down. Coach backs him up saying it was. He knew what's going on. Take us through that game again. Bears get a win, 4-1. Easily could
Makes
be.
no sense.
I don't
Makes
get
no
it.
sense.
I don't get it either. Just like the Vikings would have a winning record, the Bears could literally be 0-5, 1-4.
Yeah, they really could be as easily as they are 4-1. It's insane how that works. This was obviously a game that a lot of Green Bay fans and people that cover the team, watch the team, whatever, had their eyes on this game on Thursday because Chicago is only a game behind Green Bay in the NFC North, and Tampa Bay is on the schedule next for Green Bay. So this was a big game for a few reasons, right? You got a good look at Tampa Bay, and it seems like, again, that Tom Brady's offense is sputtering. And you saw him walk off the field with 9 seconds on the play clock like he was LeBron James in Game 4.
True.
And, Nick Foles looked like a lost puppy trying to shake somebody's hand. He's no stranger to beating Tom Brady on national television, I guess. So there you go. So that was quite the scene. I imagine Tampa Bay is going to bring it when Green Bay travels there on Sunday. But I don't know about either of these teams. I don't think Chicago's that good. I think they're probably a playoff team. They're halfway there. I think it's 8 or 9 wins is going to get you in this year. Tampa Bay, they can still win that division by all means, but they do have a tough schedule. It's a tough division. And after losing to Chicago on Thursday, they get the long break at Green Bay this Sunday afternoon. That's a game Green Bay should win pretty easily. But it's Tom Brady. I guess you don't know. So it was a fun Thursday night game. I mean, it was sloppy, but I thought it was a really fun game on Thursday night.
That's what matters.
It was closely contested, kind of low scoring, but nonetheless, I thought it was a fun game. And Nick Foles gets a big win as the Chicago starting quarterback.
Everyone was harping on him because it looked like Trubisky was going to come back in the game,
Yeah.
but then before you know it, Chicago comes away with the win. Let's get into the standings real quick. We're going to run through these real fast. AFC, Buffalo's 4-0. Win the division, or the Pats still got some noise left?
It's Buffalo.
Buffalo all the way?
Yep.
Okay. AFC North, this is a good division.
Baltimore.
Pittsburgh's 4-0. Cleveland's 4-1.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh and Cleveland, I think this is the division that has the best chance to have 3 playoff teams. So with this expanded playoffs, it's pretty rare that you have 3 attendees, if you will, in the playoffs from the same division with only a 6-team seed. But now you've got 7 teams in order to fill those spots in each conference. I think the AFC North will be the only division. I'm saying this when Week 5 isn't even over yet. I think the AFC North will have 3 playoff teams in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland.
All right. AFC South, Tennessee 3-0. They do play Tuesday night on a Tuesday night football game. Never thought that would have happened this year. Indy 3-2. Those 2 teams are in it. Is it Tennessee or Indy?
It's Tennessee, but I think they're a fluke so far. And obviously
so
we haven't
far?
seen them. We haven't seen them
We'll
in like 2
see a good
weeks.
game on Tuesday. So
Yeah, I
they'll
think
be
that's
well
a good
rested.
It's a best, well rested for sure, but also a really good test for them because I think Buffalo is the 3rd best team in the AFC. So I think Tennessee probably wins the division. That division's not very good. Houston is a dumpster fire, although they did get a win on Sunday. But I would say Tennessee pretty confident.
All right, KC, Vegas, those 2 teams. KC will win the division. Vegas maybe gets in.
Yep, I agree with both of those.
Switching over to NFC, Dallas 2-3 are going to win the division.
Yeah, they're the only team that's going to get in.
All right. North, Green Bay 4-0, Chicago 4-1.
I think they both make it, but Green Bay wins the division. I think Green Bay gets the 1 seed as well.
What's their record going to be?
14-2.
14-2?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident. I can give you. I mean, one will be a divisional slip up, and maybe like Tennessee in December, or even Tampa Bay on Sunday. I feel like those are some games that will be close.
Switching to the South, Tampa Bay 3-2, Carolina 3-2 as well. I was high on this team. I don't think they're going to make it in Carolina, but they do have a chance. They do have a chance. Obviously, New Orleans plays tonight against the Chargers. Probably going to get that win. Yeah. 3 teams at 3-2. Who comes away with it?
This division's wide open, and Carolina's right in the mix, which I don't think anybody expected besides you. So props there, buddy. But I still look at Tampa Bay and New Orleans. You have to imagine one of them's going to win the division. The other one's probably going to get in. No confidence whatsoever in Atlanta, who have not only fired their head coach Dan Quinn, but also their GM Thomas Dimitroff last night. So Atlanta, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and enter them in the Trevor Lawrence raffle. Carolina somehow here, but I still think they probably only win 6 or 7 games. But I would say the other two have a very good chance to make the playoffs. Yeah.
All right, last division, the West. Seattle moves to 5-0 after a big win last night, comeback win.
They win
Rams in 4-1, Cards 3-2. Do we see the Rams slip up, or are they a team that is quietly right there to make some noise later on in the playoffs?
So Arizona, I think, is a fluke. If you look at their wins, they're against bad teams. They weren't able to beat a team like Carolina last week. In fact, they weren't even in that game against Carolina last week. Arizona, they're good. I like Kyler Murray. I like Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think they make the playoffs this year like I did before the season. I do think Sean McVay and the Rams get back after missing it a year ago after their Super Bowl run. And, I think Seattle is the 2 seed in the NFC.
All right. Well, that's all we got for the NFL. After this commercial, we'll talk about the NBA Finals and LeBron James winning his 4th title.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that. And it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back to the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. I'm Jackson Jirik alongside Alex Stouf. The NBA Finals concluded last night with the Lakers winning the series 4-2 after a 106-93 victory over the Miami Heat. LeBron James would win his 4th title and the Finals MVP, posting a 28, 14, and 10 triple-double, and Anthony Davis had 19 and 15. Alex, is it time to put LeBron James above Michael Jordan, or are we just still going to deny him that and wait 1 more year, see if he can get another ring, or does he have to win 2 more even?
I just don't care. This conversation is so exhausting, Jackson. I think, rather than talking about who the GOAT is, I'd rather sit here and appreciate greatness. And the greatness that is, right. LeBron James went into that game without a triple-double this series, and he closed it out in elite fashion. I made the case like less than a week ago, only a couple games back in this series. I don't know if LeBron is deserving of the Finals MVP, though. I thought he would win it. I thought Anthony Davis was the guy. Now I take that back. I think after that Game 6 performance LeBron had, I'm confident giving him the Finals MVP. The guy is just, ridiculous. They were up by 30 points at halftime. That game was over essentially as soon as it began. You got to be happy for the Lakers, man. That's quite the story. Just 2 summers ago, LeBron signs in LA. You got Lonzo Ball, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who all of a sudden became a hero in these finals. But Lonzo Ball's out. Josh Hart is out. You've got tons of names that have been traded or released or not re-signed. And Rob Pelinka and Vogel and Frank Vogel, have all brought this roster together and brought in pieces like Anthony Davis and developed pieces like Kyle Kuzma and KCP. You bring in a guy like Dwight Howard, who wins his first NBA title now. J.R. Smith didn't have a shirt on as soon as the clock hit 0, and he was drinking Henny wild that night. So this Lakers team was a lot of fun. And it was a lot different than what we expected the day LeBron signed to the Lakers. And just that 2-year turnaround from going last year, not making the playoffs, LeBron James being hurt for, a relatively significant portion of that season. And now he comes back. They're in the driver's seat of the Western Conference pretty much the entire season. They go to the playoffs. They run the table. I mean, they were in some good series, don't get me wrong, but it was all Lakers. And when you saw the Bucks get eliminated from the Eastern Conference, you knew it was down to the LAs. And once the Lakers were able to, actually, the Lakers didn't even get rid of the Clippers. The Nuggets did. So, but after the Lakers were able to get rid of the Nuggets and it was Lakers Heat, you knew it wasn't close. It was a 1 seed in the Western Conference versus a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. What have we been saying since LeBron James has been in the NFL? In the NBA, excuse me. We have been saying that the Western Conference is bounds and leaps better than the Eastern Conference. So if you take the top team in the Western Conference and the 5th best team in the Eastern Conference, typically what do you think is going to happen? Maybe not even a 6-game series is what I predict. I predicted it'd be over in 5. It was a good series. Miami, really good young team. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table next year. But LeBron James is playing some of the best basketball of his career at 36 years old. And Anthony Davis, I mean, is really playing that second fiddle role beautifully. It's going to be interesting to see what decision he makes in free agency.
Hopefully he stays, because I do like that it's a good balance in the NBA right now. And I think that there's 6 or 7, maybe even 8 teams that can make a case for winning the title next year. Let's get into that. Who is the way too early favorite as the finals concluded last night? Who do you think wins it next year?
Who won that basketball game last night?
The Lakers.
Yeah, I'd say it's them. As soon as Anthony Davis said, yeah, let's run it back, I think you have to certify favorites. But that said, let's just take a little trip around the NBA, if you don't mind. Let's look at some of these teams that could make a run, right? So you look at both the LAs, assuming that Paul George stays with the Clippers, they're probably going to make a case again. The Lakers obviously will. Golden State is going to get back Steph Curry and Klay Thompson healthy next season. They also obviously have Draymond Green, and they have a top 5 draft pick to go along with that. So Golden State has to be in the conversation. And anybody else in the West, I mean, maybe Denver. They were in the Western Conference Finals. They looked really good in the bubble. You could probably still make the case for them. And then a wild card in the Western Conference. How about the Dallas Mavericks? Luka Doncic. He's younger than me. Another year of development for a guy that was in the MVP category this year. Would love to see what he can do with Kristaps Porzingis and head coach Rick Carlisle in Dallas. Eastern Conference. You've got Milwaukee. You've got Boston. You've got Miami, who could go back again. And now you throw Brooklyn into the mix. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant with new head coach new head coach Steve Nash. They're going to be in the mix now. So yeah, there is legitimately, I would say, probably 9 teams. That's like a third of the league you can make a case for next year. This is the most parity, I'd say, we're looking forward to than we have in over a decade in the association.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait I'm not an NBA guy at all, but I think that, it's better than just assuming that the Warriors are going to be in the finals.
Right.
And now you don't know who's going to be in the finals. I mean, obviously the Lakers are a good team. They can make the case every year, but like you mentioned, there's 9 teams that could potentially be in the finals with a very good, valid argument of why they should be there.
Yeah, and the thing is with the NBA, I love that you bring that up, because the parity is never really there, right? It's very tier heavy, you feel, right? You've got maybe, or at least the past 5 years, it's been Warriors in tier 1, and everybody else is in a different tier. But I think overall, next year will be probably the most fun and competitive and evenly split competition in the association we've seen, like I said, over a decade.
Even a team like the Suns, they didn't make the playoffs this year.
But
they went 8-0, but
yeah.
They're still a good team that could be like, hey, maybe we get in as a 6 or 7 seed and make some noise, maybe make a little run.
They're
it's
young.
Just like that. Yeah. After this commercial, we'll talk about the MLB postseason, the college football rankings, because there's a lot going on there. I'm Jackson Jirik. That's Alex Stouf. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. I'm Jackson Jirik alongside Alex Stouf. We're going to take a quick update and a look at the MLB postseason as the CS series are underway. And the American League, it's Houston and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is up 1-0 after a good game, 2-1 win over them. And it's Atlanta and the Dodgers and the NL side. No games have been played yet. They play tonight against Fried and Bueller. It's going to be a pitching duel. We're going to love to see it. World Series predictions, we picked the Dodgers, but did we really see the Astros playing in the American League Championship
So
Series?
hear me out. I thought long and hard about this when we were in the divisional series, and it almost makes way too much sense. So hear me out here, right? When I look at the MLB World Series, it is going to be, without a doubt, the MLB's ideal scenario. There's no fans in the stands. The Astros, when they make the World Series, are not going to be heckled and booed. You know why? Again, no fans. But they're going to be playing the best team in the National League, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Remember a couple seasons ago, there was a situation there. All these people got a 1-year ban, which was this season. And now the Dodgers are going to beat the Astros for a title with an asterisk by it because it's the 2020 60-game season. But the Dodgers going to get the World Series. The Astros going to get humiliated on the largest stage there is by the team that they humiliated by cheating and winning a World Series. And things are going to go back to at least a little bit more normal next baseball season. So you're going to have the reigning world champion Dodgers, the Astros who lost on the biggest stage, and now these people that were on 1-year bans are going to be let back into the MLB. We're going to get back to normal in 2021, and this Astros thing is going to be kind of put in the rear view once the Dodgers win the World Series. That's what I think the MLB's ideal scenario is, and that's actually how I think it's going to play out. And I don't think the World Series will be close if it's those two teams. I think the Dodgers win in 5.
In 5? See, I think you're right about the theory. I think it's a great theory. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think 2021 season, next year, there's going to be a lot more heckling because the fans are still going to be mad. Like, Yankees fans, still going to be mad. Dodgers fans, still going to be mad. I don't know if you paid attention to when the Astros were in town to play the Dodgers in the regular season when the West played.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of fans that were there waiting for their bus with garbage cans, banging on them, booing them, whatever it was. I think we're going to see a lot more of that when the Astros play teams that they beat. You know, I wouldn't even say Boston because Boston was in that mix of the cheating scandal, but teams like Tampa Bay, the Oakland A's, the New York Yankees are probably going to be the worst team for the Astros to play because they're just going to rip them to shreds. And then the Dodgers, of course, but who knows what's going to happen.
Hey, man, if the Dodgers do win the MLB title, though, just real quick, what a couple of weeks that's going to be for LA sports fans. The Lakers win the title on Sunday, and the Dodgers could win one in a week and a half.
People are probably going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
We'll switch over to the college football side of things. A lot of the upsets. Oklahoma beating Texas in quadruple overtime, 53-45. Spencer Rattler gets benched, comes back, wins the game for him. Spencer Rattler, you said you never heard of him. He's supposed to be the next big thing, replacing Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma. I don't know if you watched it or not, but I didn't watch it either, but I heard it was a lot of fun going back and forth. Answers on both sides of the field. The other one, Texas A&M upsets Florida 41-38, walk-off field goal there. Mizzou beats LSU. LSU falls out of the rankings. They lost 42-17. Best team in each conference real quick. SEC, Bama, or Georgia. We get to see them play each other. Who's going to win that game?
It'll be Bama.
Bama?
It's just
closer.
It's like Georgia in this conversation is like the redheaded stepsister or stepchild, whatever you want to call it. It's Alabama. It's Nick Saban. It's not a conversation.
Okay, ACC, Clemson, UNC is 3-0, and so is Notre Dame, 3-0.
Yeah, I don't
Still
think
Clemson.
It's not North Carolina, I'll tell you that. Notre Dame, but I'd go Clemson. I agree. Trevor Lawrence, you have to give him the edge.
Big 12, Iowa State 3-0. Three big wins here.
Big Cyclones
OSU,
guy.
KSU.
I'm a big Cyclones guy.
Big Cyclones guy.
I've been to Ames. I've stayed in Ames. I've been to the Iowa State campus. Count me in. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones. All right, Pac-12. Team to beat out of there.
We haven't seen them yet, obviously, but why not?
Toss-up.
Let's go with the team that lost their starting quarterback in Justin Herbert and beat the Badgers in the Rose Bowl back on January 1st. Let's go with Oregon.
Oregon it is. Big 10, still Ohio State?
It's got to be Ohio State. They've made just about, I think, every college playoff since its existence. So, I'll go Ohio State. But Penn State, of course, honorable mention.
All right. Can't wait. I'm Jackson Jirik. That's Alex Stouf. This has been the Sports Hub right here on SBTV. Thank you to our tech staff for producing the show behind the scenes. Stay tuned for another episode next week. Can't wait.
Can't wait.